Senate Majority Leader John Thune, thanks for joining us. Senator Chris Murphy had this about the legality of the strikes.
Senator Graham held up a poster in which he showed that there were 130 different occasions in which various presidents of the United States have engaged in military actions overseas without the consent of Congress. That is true, but that doesn't mean that it's legal or constitutional. If your neighbor breaks into your house 130 times in a row, that doesn't mean that it's suddenly permissible by law.
Then the Wall Street Journal editorial board saying that the Washington-Iran war pessimists are judging from the Beltway panic. You'd think America is destined for defeat and deserves it. Rarely have so many seemed so eager to predict American humiliation. Do you see this settling down after the War Powers Act went down in the Senate?
It should. It was a really strong vote, Dana, and we had one Democrat who voted with us, but most Democrats in the chamber decided to vote against our troops and against America's interest. And even if you believe the war powers is constitutional, and that's a very debatable, valid question, it doesn't require the president to notify Congress until 60 days. And so the president is perfectly within his constitutional authority under Article 2 to take this action to defend and protect America's national security interests. They are doing that with great success. We ought to be cheering our troops on, praying for their safety, rather than getting out there and demagoguing this and turning it into a political issue, which is what the Democrats in the Senate are doing.
I think that some people could be forgiven for forgetting that the Department of Homeland Security is under a partial government shutdown. But now is really a dangerous time for that. In particular, I always think about the cybersecurity issues and Iran being very skilled in figuring out how to do those kind of scans and to jam American corporations and individuals on that. Jamie Raskin is a House Democrat. He said this about the Homeland Security funding.
We just want DHS to start following the Constitution and the rule of law again, and we want them to stop shooting our citizens. Yeah.
Are you concerned about imminent threats right now, given the fact that DHS isn't funded with cybersecurity and the Coast Guard?
Yeah, she transferred a ton of employees from working on cybersecurity and terror financing over to her immigration roundups. That's one of the things we're working on today.
One of the things that they called for is the abolishment of ICE. Obviously, President Trump would never sign something like this. Can you break the logjam here?
Well, I hope so, but the ball's really in the Democrats' court. And as you point out, Dana, these are agencies that defend the homeland. That's the Department of Homeland Security. It is the Coast Guard. It is the TSA. It is FEMA. It is cybersecurity. The Democrats have made a conscious decision to shut that down. And you know, we're 20 days into this right now. A lot of these people aren't getting paid. We live in a dangerous world. The Democrats they're playing with fire here, and they need to come to the consensus and come to the conclusion that we need to get beyond this and put people back to work, open up these agencies, and let them continue with the mission that they're tasked with.
What is your best argument for the Senate trying to hold on to the majority in the Senate when it comes to Texas? We just had Karl Rove on. He has a particular point of view and supports John Cornyn in that race, but Ken Paxton, he made it to the runoff. And this could be a very expensive race for Republicans, but there's maybe plenty of money to go around. What's your best argument to President Trump on who you want to be the winner in this contest?
Well, first and foremost, he's got an incredibly effective senator in John Cornyn, who is a strong conservative voice and vote for the people of Texas. But just importantly to the president is hanging on to that seat, Dana. And it's very clear that John Cornyn at the top of the ticket keeps Texas red. Ken Paxton at the top of the ticket, the polling all shows this, puts that seat at risk. And that has implications down ballot on House races. And it also makes that state incredibly expensive. Texas is an expensive state in which to conduct campaigns, and we're talking perhaps hundreds of millions of dollars. With John Cornyn at the top of the ticket, we're going to be in good shape and going to be keeping Texas red.
And when do you think you'd get that endorsement if it comes?
The president has his own timing. You know, as you know, I think I've weighed in, as have others, and I'm hopeful that that endorsement's going to come for Senator Cornyn. But the president has his own timeline, and we will await any decisions that he makes about that race.
Two more quick questions. Another one on the Senate. Senator Daines of Montana made a decision yesterday not to seek re-election. There's somebody already in there right at the deadline. Would you have rather seen a primary here, at least a competitive contest, to see who would emerge victorious?
Well, I'd trust Senator Daines' judgment on the timing of his decision. That's a great loss, by the way, for the Senate and for the state of Montana. He is a terrific United States Senator, but he made a decision in consultation with his wife that they were ready to do other things. And I think he and The folks in Montana are going to now decide what comes next. But I think
Okay.
the person that he believes should succeed him is somebody who's going to be very qualified to hold that job, and we hope to make sure that he's elected in Montana.
I only have about 30 seconds left, but I did want to ask
Yep.
you, apparently there's great concern at the White House, and maybe even on Capitol Hill, about the possibility of rising gas prices. What are you hearing on that and your level of concern?
I think we're always concerned about rising gas prices, and obviously what the president has done through his energy policies has made America more energy independent. If this had happened, 10, 20, 30 years ago, gas prices would be through the roof, Dana. It's going to be a manageable thing, and we're going to continue to increase American production of energy so that we drive that gas price down and not make ourselves dependent upon sources of energy from outside of the United States, and particularly places like the Middle East that can be very unstable.
Senator Thune, we'll let you get back to work. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Dana.